The comedian Bobcat Goldthwait once quipped, "Animals may be our friends, but they won't pick you up at the airport." Yeah, a simple joke, but deep on many levels in that it reveals the complexity of relationships. It reveals the complexity of when to trust and when not to trust. And well, there's a family that was a little too trusting of a cruise line, and well, it cost them over $58,000. Now, certainly they share some of the blame in their loss, but was their big mistake the obvious mistake, or was their big mistake trusting the cruise line? We're gonna get into it. Cruise news and my views. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to La Lido Loca. I am your host Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views for your face. And well, let me introduce you to the Thompson family. Thompson family is from Roanoke, Virginia, and the dad there, Kip Thompson, is an eye surgeon in Roanoke, and they plan to take a vacation of a lifetime as some of their 5 children are making their way out of the house into adulthood. Their youngest kid, 15, and they wanted to do something big as a family, so they tossed down $60,619.17 on an epic land and sea Alaskan vacation. This awesome adventure was set to begin with a cruise out of Vancouver up into Alaska, and then the second half of the trip would be a land tour of Alaska. And well, in addition to booking a package that included the cruise and the land portion of the vacation, the Thompson family also decided to book their air through the cruise line and make it one big package deal. Now, this is where it gets interesting. With this particular cruise line, when you book the air, they get to decide on what day that you fly. And well, the cruise line decided that the Thompson family would be okay flying from the airport in Greensboro, North Carolina, all the way to Vancouver, Canada, across the continent, on a flight that occurred the same day as the embarkation of the cruise. And well, to the Thompsons' credit, they said, fly across the country on the day of the cruise to embark? That doesn't sound right. I don't think we should do that. Hey, cruise line, this doesn't seem like the best plan. What should we do? And well, they said that the cruise line told them not to worry about it, that they would be okay on this same day flight to Vancouver, and all would end well. Well, guess what? All did not end well. This family of 7 made their way to the airport on time there in Greensboro, only to find out that their flight to Vancouver had been canceled. And of course, like the rest of us, they properly freaked right out. They jumped on the horn with their cruise line, and the cruise line said, well, sorry, we don't deal with this kind of thing. You're gonna have to work with the airlines there to get yourself to Vancouver. They were able to secure a flight on a different airline, but not to Vancouver. They flew into Seattle, Washington, where they were going to be able to hop another short flight to Vancouver. However, their flight to Seattle, Washington was delayed, and they missed their flight to Vancouver. The saga continues as they unsuccessfully tried to get a ride from Seattle to Vancouver, which is fairly close. The only big challenge there is that to cross the border, you have to have a passport. They tried 3 different Uber drivers. None of them had the paperwork needed, and well, at day's end, they missed their opportunity to get on the cruise ship. The Thompson said they reached out to the cruise line and asked if they could make their way to the first port of call. The cruise line said no. They also asked if they could just skip the cruise altogether and pick up their vacation during the land portion of this vacation. They said they were also told no by the cruise line. And so sadly, they made their way back home after 2 days of frustrating travel. The situation became more frustrating as the stark reality hit them that they got nothing. They got nothing for their $60,000 plus. And well, after the dust settled, Kip started reaching out to the cruise line looking for a refund of his monies, and he received a denial letter. He voiced dissatisfaction with his denial, and ultimately he did receive $2,500 back of his well over $60,000. He was told that cancellations of air flights and trouble with airplanes did not fall under the cruise line's responsibility, and that he was not entitled to a full refund of his cruise because he did not purchase travel insurance. insurance. Kip did not buy the insurance. He was offered the insurance at the time of his booking, and he did not take it. So in looking at this story, I feel like there are 3 mistakes. 2 of them are pretty obvious, and one of them is a little more subtle. But in case you missed it, that was obvious mistake number 1. Do not cruise, do not travel unless you have travel insurance. Now, interestingly, there is a side story here where there is another customer who went through the exact same air situation. They're out $11,000. However, they did buy the insurance from the cruise line, but interestingly, the policy that they bought from the cruise line did not cover the cost of their cruise in the event of air cancellation. It only provided for a $500 reimbursement for the missed flight. I guess there really could be 4 mistakes here. A side mistake related to the big obvious mistake is when you purchase travel insurance, make sure you know what it covers. Will it cover the cost of your entire cruise fare, or will it only cover this part of the travel? These are questions you have to be asking yourself and researching when you are purchasing travel insurance. And I know I'm going to get asked, what travel insurance should I buy? I don't know what the best travel insurance is for everyone. I have an annual plan through a company called Allianz. I feel like the policy that I have covers me well, but again, I can't be prescriptive as to what travel insurance you should have. You got to do your research, and that's just me giving you some tough love. I could try to walk you through the process, but really, you're going to benefit from understanding what insurance you have and what it covers, those kind of things. So do the work on that one. So the side mistake to the obvious mistake for the second person who lost $11,000 is that they had insurance that did not cover the scenario that they encountered. Obvious mistake number 2 was thinking that you could take a flight across the country to a destination so far away on the same day that your cruise embarked. Do not ever do this. Heck, I live 2.5 hours away from Port Canaveral, and there's times where I'm like, man, maybe I should go to Port Canaveral the night before in case my car breaks down or in case something crazy happens. There is no way that I would feel comfortable with a scheduled same-day flight to embark a cruise that leaves on the east coast of the United States and ends up on the west coast of Canada. It's an international flight, for goodness sakes. This is something you should never, ever, ever do. To me, this is the biggest mistake that the Thompsons made, and it is this one mistake that I do believe cost them over $58,000. And of course, they're saying, look, we thought about that and we asked the cruise line to change our flight and they would not change our flight. We trusted what they said. Shouldn't the cruise line be on the hook for this? Well, and I guess this could be a complimentary mistake. They were unfamiliar with the cruise line's policy that they were dealing with. The policy of that cruise line is if you have trouble with your air flights, whether they booked them or whether somebody else booked them, it's not their problem. And that's baked into their policy. You know, thinking about it, this really is becoming a lot of big mistakes and subtle mistakes layered on top of each other. And then I guess the last mistake we should talk about is they trusted the cruise line. They booked this cruise through Norwegian Cruise Line. When they called the representatives on the phone saying we're uncomfortable with our flight being booked on the same day as the cruise, they said they were told it was nothing to worry about. And well, they trusted that and they paid the price for that trust. At the end of the day, Norwegian Cruise Line is a business trying to sell vacations to consumers out there with money. And at the end of the day, we are consumers purchasing cruise vacations and we are responsible for our own decisions. Their trust of this customer service rep telling them not to worry about it trumped what they knew to be true, that it was a bad move to not go to the cruise port before the day of the cruise, and they rolled with that decision, and that decision cost them over $58,000. Rolling your airfare into your cruise booking can often be a great benefit. It consolidates all of your expense into one lump sum that you can track and all of that stuff. If the cruise gets canceled, you should get your airfare back if it gets canceled on the cruise line's part, but you are subjecting yourself to the policies of the cruise line. In Norwegian Cruise Line, for example, they're going to assign your flight. If you don't like the flight that you are assigned, they will allow you to change that flight, to change the timing of that flight to come in a day before, to come in 2 days before. That flight change does come with an additional expense. And in their statement about this case, Norwegian Cruise Line did say that the family had the option to change their flights to an earlier flight. They chose not to do that. Of course, hindsight is 2020. It's easy to quarterback this thing from the armchair. It's easy to look at the decisions of the Thompson family and say, oh, I would have done this or I would have done that differently. I'm certainly not here to give them a hard time because we're all doing our best to make these travel decisions. But if we can learn anything from their story, the teachable moment is this: always go to the cruise port, especially at great distances, not the day of the cruise. Always go in a day early. And then number 2, trust but verify. When somebody tells you that, don't worry about it, your same day flight's going to be okay, the little alarms that are going off in your head, make sure that you act on those. And, advocate for yourself. And if it doesn't feel right, just take that air booking out of your cruise vacation and just book it on your own so that you can go a couple days early. $58,000 plus, that is a lot of scratch. Let me throw the question over to you. What was the biggest mistake made in this scenario? Was it booking their air through the cruise line? Was it not doing something different when the air bookings weren't favorable? Was it trusting the cruise line? I don't think they're getting their money back, and that's got to be super frustrating. Boom, that is your cruise news. What a doozy. Hope you enjoyed this information. If you did, you can show your support by hitting the like button. If you want to keep up with the cruise news, everything going on in cruising, now's the time to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so YouTube does its thing for you. This is Tony for La Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye. Cruise news, cruise news, cruise.